Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Jeffrey Belville, who is a retired pharmacist and is currently working on helping and raising money and awareness for the poverty in the Philippines. Welcome to the program, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mirella.
Can you start by telling our viewers what is actually happening in the Philippines? What is the poverty like there?
Well, at the moment you have an overall population of about 110 million, and of that, you have probably, and we've become involved more, I guess, initially with the street children, and they estimate there are at least 1 million street children. So that was my initial sort of contact through association with the Missionaries of God's Love, MGL as we know them, subsequently to be visited by Jodine Solo of the He Cares organisation, and then to make 2 or 3 trips to the Philippines to have a look at the situation there, and to see a level of injustice, of poverty, of possibly as many as 180 to 200,000 street children in Manila alone.
And why do you think there are so many street children there? What is the cause of it? Do you know much about the background of the country and their situation?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably always been there. The Philippines, as time has gone on, has become more and more urbanised. 48% of that 110 million actually live in cities. So you've got this problem, I guess, of just packing people into very, very concise areas. There's evidence, of course, of prostitution, of drugs, etc., etc. And the wages there are probably in the order of a tenth of what we pay our workers in Australia. So there is a very low level of poverty. There's a lot of husbands, unfortunately, that leave their wives and they then sleep with the children on the streets.
Oh, so what do you think? What is the reason these husbands are leaving their wives? Why is that happening there? Oh,
there's like a high level of alcoholism. It's a hard one to really answer why you have that higher level sort of thing, that male sort of situation, but it's just there. Whether or not this is something that has been passed on from one generation to another, it's always been a depressed culture since the time of World War II, I would imagine, sort of thing. We had MacArthur there, of course. So yeah, very much depressed, very much a country where the wealth is in the hands of the very, very few, to the extent that they tell us that something like 40 to 50 families control 90% of the wealth. Well, that's a huge imbalance sort of thing.
So then why would they say, for example, be so different from Australia? What are they lacking that we've got? What's the difference? How come we're not in the same situation as them? How can they learn from us, say, for perhaps for an example?
Well, I think that democracy is not fully evident there, that from the time of Marcos and perhaps before it, that we've had this imbalance sort of thing, which is almost a dictatorship situation.
Because you see a lot of other countries, Australia seems to be doing okay. You're never grateful for where you live, but then you go to another country and you think, well, gee, I'm really, really grateful I live in Australia and I've been born here and I've lived here all my life. Yeah. But what can they learn from us, these other countries? Just in case the Prime Ministers are watching, we might be able to enlighten them. You never know how far.
Yeah, well, changes do appear. television's been a marvellous instrument in places like Russia and that for changing the minds, and I think we need to have more services, more organisations, more charities, more schools and all that entering into that Asian scene, particularly Indonesia, Philippines. I mean, you've got to realise that there are nearly 500 million in the close, within 4 hours flight of Darwin, there are 500 million people. So we're going to be a very, very, if not now, but it's a growing solid part of the world. We see China, we see what's happening in the East China Sea, we see America over there. Is Europe going to be a dominant, or are they a failing company? Is this part of the world going to be increasing in its dominance? Is a very interesting scenario for governments, I think, to look at.
Because it's really not that hard to live in harmony and peace. It's a decision each person has to make in their choices they make in their life, going all the way up to the politicians of the country. You know? People can live in harmony and peace. You know,
at the lower level, the people in the streets live far more in harmony, I think, than...
And the ones that have got nothing. They're the ones that have got nothing.
They've got nothing.
I went there when I was going to Italy, and I stopped off in the Philippines. And I was told, I was staying with the Focolare movement in the Philippines, and they've built this place called Bukas Palad, where they help all the people in the lowest of the low in poverty in the Philippines. And they took me around to go visit the families, and I was astounded. They lived in literally sheds. It was just like a metal roof on one side and another, and it was just that. And you'd go into their houses, there was nothing in there, it was just bare. But their smiles lit up the whole... I don't even think they had electricity, but their smiles lit up the whole place. The joy in their faces when we came to say hi to them, I just was like so astounded that I came back and I got accepted into performing arts, and I said, that's it, I'm not going to do performing arts, I'm not going to do acting, I'm going to go there, take all my clothes, all my things, and give it to them and help there, because I just saw there was such a need there. But then they said, no, work in Australia, do everything in Australia, because you can help people with their faith, and that's the most important thing. When people have faith, they've got everything. These people had faith, but they had nothing, but they had everything at the same time. So it was a very interesting thing. So in the end, I think our faith is what is the most important thing in our life, and with that we can do more good and help these people still. So like you're out there now helping there, you're making trips over there, you're involved with raising money, donating money as well, and getting people aware of what the situation is. So how many times have you been there? How long have you spent there? And tell us a little bit about your experience living there.
Well, I've been to the Philippines on 2 occasions only. I'll be going back again soon. And Indonesia only once.
We'll come back to that. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
With the warmer months upon us, here are some poolside safety tips. Because not everyone can swim like Clarkie and I. S is for supervision. Always have an adult watching over the kids. A is for Oswim. Have your children taught to swim by an Oswim licensed teacher. F is for fencing. Ensure secure fencing surrounds your pool. E is for emergencies. Always be prepared. R is for rule. Ensure your family know the rules around your pool. Be safer and have fun.
Joy, well-being, community, inclusion.
Special Olympics is a global movement for people with an intellectual disability, creating a world of inclusion and community through sport, where every person is accepted and welcomed, regardless of ability. One athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time, helping to make the world a better place. Join the inclusion revolution by supporting Special Olympics.
And choose to include.
Had enough of the bad news about carbon dioxide and climate change? Wood is one solution. Trees take CO2 from the air and store it in their wood. They're also renewable, unlike concrete and steel. But the wood you choose should be recycled or from certified plantations or forests. This helps protect areas of high conservation value. So next time you're building or buying something, make it wood and do your world some good.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Jeffrey Belville, who is a retired pharmacist and is now spending his time helping raising money and awareness for the poverty in the Philippines. Welcome back to the program, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Mirella.
Now, before the break, we just got to ask you about what your involvement is in the Philippines. What do you actually do there? What have you seen there when you've been there? So can you tell us a little bit about your experience when you actually walked through these cities and these villages that are filled with poverty? What was it like for you there? And what did you see and what experiences did you have?
Yes, well, it's only the 2 times that I've been to Manila, but have maintained contact in other ways with them. Initially motivated by the visit of Jodine Solo, who had championed the cause of street children, had been a street child himself, and out of that had been rehabilitated and started an organisation with his wife, Ardis.
And was he from the Philippines?
So he was living in Manila.
Yep.
All right. He was a street child himself. He nearly died, and he recovered, rehabilitated. He then realised, you know, what a terrible life it was. He was but he was educated. So he started what's known as the organisation called He Cares, which at that stage had built up to the level of providing meals mainly 1 day a week out of an old factory, an old warehouse. And it was at this stage that the MGLs, who had a mission in Manila, St Benedict's, Father Steve Tynan, became associated, all right? So then this word got back to Australia, and subsequently missionary priests have gone there and are working out of St Benedict's. So that was the scene when I went with one of the MGLs and visited Joe, who was talking at that stage of the potential of building a specialised facility for the most needy, mainly boys who were sleeping alone on the streets or managing in the tips, etc. So I was sort of moved by that. His dream was to build a facility which has subsequently been built, which was open last October for 140 to 150 of the most needy, and to accommodate them, and also to provide a facility where they would have food, health, education, and to stream them all the way through to university level. So we're going to take children off the streets and we're going to put them somewhere there. So hopefully that will come to pass. It also provides for accommodation for overseas help, in that he's got 2 or 3 different rooms there for people that wish to go and assist, sort of thing. Yeah. So that's going to get underway fairly soon. So a young person might say, I'm going to dedicate 1 month or 2 months of my life, I'm going to go over there. And even if they don't do a lot, I think the mere fact of them being there and seeing what's going on, visiting the people in the streets.
And it's already started, hasn't it? Some of the boys from the western suburbs are going there helping to build houses.
Yes, that's somewhat separate issue. That the other thing that that happens out of the MGL's mission house there at St Benedict's has been an interest in the poorest of the poor, those people that are living off the tips. This has been documented before. Shown before, but not a lot of ongoing assistance has been made. So there is one particular priest who's more or less taken that portfolio. I visited with him the town of Patayas, which was built initially on a tip, but is now been built in, and the valley is there, but the people are still there. They're in the shanty situation, in very poor situation. Average 5 families live in a possibly 12 by 15 feet or 5 by 3 metre humpy shack, and they live on $1.50 a day for all of them per day, you can imagine. So they are down really, suppressed sort of thing. So it was my opportunity to go with Father Paul on the day to visit them and spend time with them, and it's quite moving. So the hope is to do something there apart from the street children. Already a lot's being done, contributed quite a bit, and that building is finished. Patajas is a separate situation of about 8 to 10,000 that live in shocking situations, sort of thing, slum situations.
So there's quite a lot of different projects then going on.
So there's 2 major projects, yes. There are projects that the Mission House of St Benedict's has within its own area, which is Quezon City. Quezon is part of Manila, right? So that's an ongoing situation where they have a mixed 10 minutes takes you to Calcutta, 10 minutes takes you to Turak.
Right.
In the diversity of
the type of lifestyles.
That's right. Yeah. So, but that's good. That's good to have a mixed situation sort of thing. So they've also got their poor people, their socio-economically deprived people, if we call them whatever, in that, so just local to them.
Can the actual wealthy people help their own poor people as well?
Yeah, there are good wealthy people.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I suspect that it's probably only 5% of the wealthy people would be doing anything.
So it's interesting that someone from another country has to step in there, where they've got their wealthy people who could help them themselves, but they're not doing it. So you've got to come from Australia to go and help them. When they could actually.
Well, there was no government assistance for the work that Jodine Solo is doing.
He's doing it all.
He relies on.
Yeah.
There's a few in the Philippines that help him, and there's a few of us in Australia, some in Ireland, some in the States. So he's gone outside to get that assistance.
Yeah.
All right. Because I've spoken to him, I said, "What about government assistance?" And he just throws up his hands. He said, "That's
it's just not going to happen." Not
going to happen. So it's better that he does what he does. So his big ambition is to have this specialised house or facility at the moment is about to fully begin. It's been held up somewhat in the last 2 months by government red tape, but that's about to get underway. Beautiful. His plan is to double up and triple that situation.
Okay, that's great. We'll have to talk a bit more about that when we return. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
We've all seen this one time or another. We may even have done it ourselves. But inhaling balloon gas is very dangerous and can be fatal. The helium in balloon gas acts as an asphyxiant, and when you inhale, it displaces the oxygen in your lungs. Balloon gas is safe in balloons and when you release it in a well-ventilated area and in a safe manner. So the next time you see some sucker about to inhale balloon gas, or you think it's going to be a laugh, stop and be gas-wise.
Take it from me, one punch can be lethal. Thrown in anger like this, without warning, without any gloves, it can be deadly. One punch can end his life and ruin yours. It takes grunt to throw it, it takes guts to walk away.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week. Time's up.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and today our guest is Jeffrey Belville, if you've just joined us, and he is a retired pharmacist, but he's now putting all his efforts and energy into raising money, help and awareness to the poverty that's happening in the Philippines. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Mirella.
So I'd just like to know from another perspective, what is your pain and sorrows that you've seen and experienced there, and you see that the people are living there, and how can others help?
Yes, I think the first time was we arrived on the Friday, and the Saturday is the open day for the street children, the He Cares program, and so we visited there in the middle of the morning, Saturday morning, and there would have been around about 200 to 300 of the street children had been gathered together, and so they had those that needed cleaning had been cleansed, I should say, and so there was a time of a little bit of a party was going on, a bit of music, and then they had long trestle tables made out for them, and they were being fed what was possibly their one decent meal for the week. So that's sort of moving. The friendship of the children is also very, very touching. How they'll actually come up to you, and I remember one gorgeous little girl. She was only about 4 or 5, and she came up to me, and I know I was a bit overweight, but she sort of patted the tummy and said Buddha, you know, so which is
cute.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So
it's just nothing, you know, she's not.
But
judging.
she was just being, you know, friendly sort of thing. So we, you know, you spend a bit of time with them. You sit down. There are street children there as young as 2.
Yeah. Oh,
so yeah, that's difficult.
It's very sad.
The MGL. Brother that I travelled with is particularly good with children, and it was a joy to see that particular child just sitting on his knee, and he was feeding it, sort of thing. So a very scene when you look at you know, the sadness of that little child. So
and then what gives you the love and hope when you see this sadness, because it's reality, but there's something that gives you this love and hope to continue to help?
Yeah, well, I think there can be nothing harder than the situation of a child that's growing up normally, you know, without a father. In most cases, I think it's 70 to 80% there are no fathers. Fortunately, most mothers will stay on, and mothers will live on the street with the children. They have no accommodation, and the mothers will probably go off and earn $10 a week or something like that for you know, a small income to come in, but it's still not sufficient. So they'll be on the street. So you know, it's just a generally sad situation, and you wonder what opportunity have these children got. So I think what Jodine Solar has done is shown that a lot of these children are still pretty bright kids, and if they're given the opportunity, if they're given an education, but most of all if they're given love and care and attention, then that's the most important thing in the world.
Absolutely.
For those children to know that they're just not alone.
Exactly. I mean, people function better in life, at whatever stage they're at, if they feel loved and cared for. They're able to excel in their own dreams.
Yes.
That's the primary, you know, of course, food and shelter, of course, you need the basics as well, and warmth, but you also need love and hope, I mean, to live in this world. You know, you see people that have got everything that still aren't happy in the world.
That's right.
And these children literally have nothing, physically, materially.
Yes.
And they need love and hope to actually build up their material lives.
That's right.
It's an imbalance in the world, really, because there's people that have everything, but they're still miserable.
Well, somebody once said, you know, you'll always have the poor with you. So, that's something that you have to accept in life. But it's more evident in places like the Philippines and Indonesia too, and many other parts of the world, of course. But they're local to us. That's why I feel that we should be doing something. I think Australia, for all its complaints, is still a land of enormous wealth and plenty, sort of thing, and we have to do something to help our neighbours.
And what inspires you to help? What is it that's driving you to actually stop your little comfy, cosy life in Australia to really help this situation there? What is it that's driving you to do that?
Well, I think, I've been blessed family-wise, and in business I've been blessed, and I think having 9 years at boarding school from an early age gave us a huge sense of justice. There were times when perhaps we were harshly treated. I got the strap every day I was at boarding school for the first term, sort of thing. I know, I was a troublesome child probably, but there were times when I think it was too severe, sort of thing.
Brutal.
There was an imbalance. You got a feeling of what is right and what is wrong.
Because you suffered as a child. You know what it's like to see suffering.
It was solid. It wasn't severe, but you were fully aware of it.
Well, being strapped's pretty violent.
Yeah, particularly when you get 6 straps on the one hand from one priest, and your hand goes brown, black, sort of thing. That's not pleasant.
It's just weird the way they were in the old days.
Yeah,
it's just so unheard of now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of disciplines born out of English heritage, which were totally unfair.
And nowadays, psychology and education is teaching people there's another way to educate. You don't need to strap them to line.
No.
And it scars people. And obviously, you were scarred by that, and you feel a little bit of pain from what you experienced. So now you want to reach out to children and help them not to have a scarred life. Well, in whatever way you can.
That's right.
Whatever way you can.
That's right. We have justice and we have love. We have, wanting to give, and all those things are in ourselves, sort of thing. So I think that's God is sort of calling on us to give of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst sin is selfishness.
Yes, the worst.
The greatest gift is...
Given, it will be given to you.
Yes.
More times over.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's saying, sort of thing. If you've been blessed with plenty, sort of thing, you certainly do owe it, sort of thing. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on the program. But would you like to come on again next week and we can continue on this conversation?
Be great.
Lovely.
All right. Thank you.
You've been watching NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Our guest was Jeffrey Belleville. I hope you enjoyed the program. I'll see you again next week.
If you choose to drink then drive,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's,
your family's,
or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Performance poetry comes your way with Red Lobster every Monday night at 9:30. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Jeffrey Belleville, who is a retired pharmacist and is now raising awareness and help to raise money in the Philippines. The poverty there is quite devastating at the moment and is trying to help out. Welcome to the program.
Nice to meet up with you again.
It's good to have you back. And you're trying to help out with the situation there because there's a dire need. People are living literally in shacks over there. Can you tell us what is happening? There's a film happening as well right now, a documentary that you've commissioned to be shown at all the churches and parishes here in Australia.
Yes, I guess following on the first occasion that I visited, and we took some photos. We also visited the city of Tacloban, which was the scene of the hurricane that resulted in the death of 12,000 Philippine people. That was the area where MacArthur actually left, but he returned to Corregidor, I should say. So that was, and we did a bit of filming, but it was very amateurish, but I saw the need sort of thing for it. So this time we've been able to commission a documentary. At the moment it's just a sort of in its infancy, and hopefully we'll be able to produce 2 DVDs of one of about 2 or 3 minutes and the other one about 10 minutes, so that we'll be able to take that to those that may well be interested, that hopefully one can travel with that to show them the actual conditions of and the level of suffering, but also to show them the people that are doing things there, which is most uplifting, that many of the Philippine people themselves have sacrificed their lives to help others, and in particular Joe Dean with the street children has given his life, and also his wife Ardis, to taking these children from very basic levels to give them some hope.
Yeah.
And that's being achieved. So I think that's where that documentary is going to be awfully important, that it'll show the street children, it'll show the people of Patayas, a particular town there that was built on a tip, in which we're looking to try and raise as much as $200,000 to initially get really going there with help, with food, with medicine, with education. So there's a lot to be done, enormous amount. There is no lack of the poor or the needy. So
it's interesting as well, because we can suffer in silence. Like, each person can suffer in silence. Like, these people, they're probably suffering in silence, but the only thing that would be helping them is their faith. That would give them their love and their hope.
Yes.
And it's like each one of us suffers in the world. Every single person has suffering.
Yes.
But the only thing that can give us love and hope is our faith.
Right.
Really, and that is the most important thing. So to nurture that is the most powerful thing.
Yeah. It can be a two-sided thing, because I sometimes think that we, when you look at a lot of the villages and the children, there's almost a Christian acceptance in a society where there's a lot of injustice. So you've got those two things, and I don't think it's wrong that people should be, pushed down all the time. Even though when you go into the villages and you spend time with the children and they're running around and they're happy and gay sort of thing, I don't think they realise how suppressed they are. They know nothing else, but they are. There is this huge imbalance where they're not given the opportunities that we are in Western society, sort of thing.
Which is sad when you see that there are wealthy people. You wonder what's going on in their hearts and their souls, that they can feel at peace somehow with all the wealth, and then just look at all this poverty around them, and other people from other countries have to come in and help them.
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't make much sense. So there must be some sort of...
Well, there are those people, Marilla, I think, that they think that life is just here and now, nothing else, and we grab what we can, and we use what we can, and we don't worry about the other person. And I'm sure that Christ and the apostles and all that was saying, you've got to give of yourself, all right? This is one of your prime functions, all right? This is the opportunity that you have in life, that you're here to love one another, and that means giving of yourself. And if we haven't got the greatest of examples, then it's Christ gave of himself, and in that same sense, that's what I feel, sort of thing, that we need to give of ourselves so that others can benefit. It's not easy. I think we tend to all be a bit selfish and we look after ourselves, and the worldly things of this world are terribly important. It is not easy. So when you come across people such as Jodine Solo and Father Paul and there's quite a few others that basically have given their lives, for the benefit of these others, then I think you are truly moved. And I'm hopeful that the documentary will show, exactly what these people are doing and the outcomes and the difference. And if we can take a child, a boy, a girl from the streets, and if we can nurture them, feed them, educate them, and some of them already are heading for tertiary education, then I don't think you can do much more than that.
That's right. I mean, it's in praying. We need to pray. We need to also help in practical ways as well. It's both, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the street children do have a prayer session, or of course, yeah. So the faith is still there, of course, yeah.
Because with faith can move mountains.
It will.
It even says that in the Bible.
It's doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that it's pretty much without any government assistance at all. That's the other hardship. That if you're a government, surely you should be looking after your poor. But they don't seem to worry about it too much.
Yeah, somehow we have to help politicians.
Well,
somehow.
I don't know. Well, I think things change bit by bit. Things have changed in Russia and countries like that, but haven't they?
Yes.
They are not fully communist sort of thing. They've learnt that there are other things that happen in the world.
Well, Mary said that, I think, in Fatima, pray for Russia.
Yeah.
Pray for Russia. She has this great plan for Russia.
Yes.
And things like something's happening. Yeah.
So it's possibly long term. It might be a few more thousand years and it'll all be good. But
hope sooner. We'll have to go to a break now.
Sure.
You're watching NAT Chat. Hope you're enjoying the program. We'll be back with you very shortly.
It's easy for things to go wrong around water. More so if you can't swim.
It's great seeing kids confident in the water and enjoying themselves. An important part of keeping kids safer around water is learning to swim.
There are over 600 registered swimming schools that run the Australian Unity Learn to Swim program. To find one, go to the Swim Australia website.
So how have things been going?
When a young person is diagnosed with cancer, it affects their family, their friends, their entire world. Red Kite supports young people with cancer and those around them in real ways.
Yeah, hi, it's Michael. Yeah, I'm at the hospital.
We rely on your generosity to make a positive difference in the lives of thousands of families every year. We can't always make things better, but with your help, we can lighten the load.
Most of us experience life's ups and downs, but we can always appreciate the finer details that make life worth living. But for 1 in 5 of us, mental illness can make us lose sight of the big picture. That's when Paran Mission can lend a helping hand. We've been caring for the community for over 60 years, finding a place for people with no place. Show your support and stand up for mental illness. Visit our website and make a donation today.
Show Me the Way creates the first social networking sites for Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete their schooling and continue to TAFE, university or vocational education. Show Me the Way connects students with e-mentors from Corporate Australia. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete Year 12. To donate, visit showmetheway.org.au.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Jeffrey Belville, who is a retired pharmacist and is now trying to raise awareness and finance for the poverty in the Philippines. Welcome back to the program.
Hi again, Marilla.
Now, I was just thinking there might be other businessmen that are retired now from their work and that they want to involve themselves in something. What are some of the things that maybe they can do, and what are some skills you've learned as well through your business that can assist you in helping people less fortunate?
Yes, well, from personal experience and having spoken to a few other business associates, I think there's a good chance, and I think this is why I want this documentary to be done. I feel that there are probably quite a few business people that have retired and there's an opportunity, through superannuation or other means, perhaps to put a certain amount aside each year that they're not going to need, perhaps. They've covered themselves pretty well, and I think that there would be quite a few people in the business community that sort of wanted that part of their life to be able to contribute to a worthy cause, and no doubt many of them are already doing that sort of thing. So I just feel that this, on top of all the social programs that we've got in Australia, is a particularly demanding one. So I guess my bent is that way. But so I think there's many ways, sort of thing. But I think basically what we will be looking at is hopefully forming as many as 10 or 20 that will go out with the documentary. And looking for people. It may be on a personal note. You may know someone and you say, look, Bill, here we are. Would you just have a look at this? And, if you can help. You may go to a school. You may go to a church. You may go to different organisations.
Because it helps when people know how to articulate themselves and speak to the right people. And it's usually well-rounded business people that have learnt these skills through their business that are able actually to make a difference because they know how to articulate themselves and make themselves understood where it's needed.
Certainly. Yeah, no, I think we have to sell it in, sort of thing. I think it's interesting. I mean, our faith is such that we follow Christ. I always think that Christ was one of the best salesmen that there ever was.
Why's that?
Well, he had the greatest product. He went to those that would spread the word. He got them then to pass the word on to the others. So in other words, he had 1, and then he had 12, and then he had 72, and then he went on. So he
was
knew
passionate
how to spread the word until, of course, the big one was Constantine, wasn't it, with the Roman Empire in the year 370, when 15 million became Christian. That was, so when you look at that, I'm sure Christ won't mind me calling him a salesman, but in the context of what he had to sell, all right, something new, love one another. And I think the same thing is what we've got to do in these areas, sort of thing.
He gave his life, his whole life, all his skills, everything, to put that message out, love one another. How powerful is that message? Really, when you take it on board, you can see real results. When you take that really in your heart and soul and love someone, you will see the results. Not just your own.
That's right.
God and all his angels and saints will be carrying you through it, and you'll see magic happening around you.
Well, hopefully.
No, you do. You see it when you make that decision just to come out of yourself, even a little bit, to step out of your own little comfort zone. Even if it's, seeing someone you can't understand, or you think normally you would judge that person, but choosing not to judge, instead to love, you will see God will push you. He'll give you the wings to carry you. When you make that decision in that light, it's just magic. It's really magic.
I think you feel something special, sort of thing. If you can reach that stage. Most of us like to hang on to,
Sometimes people need a push,
worldly sort of
a little
thing,
push, a shove, or someone's quite severe words to say, come on, this situation needs you to love and not judge. Then you go and do that, and you'll see a huge transformation in your own heart and in the people that you're loving.
So
it's a huge thing.
So So out of all of this, I think that there are a lot of positives. I think I might have said as before, sort of thing. I think it's very, very important that we develop stronger and stronger relations with these countries. I mean, we're already there, but I think looking to the future, that the Indonesia, the Philippines, New Guinea, Borneo, countries that are really still struggling,
and also somehow to teach them to be able to help themselves as well, because they have the rich there and the poor. So to teach somehow to be able to teach the rich to help the poor there.
Yeah, well, that's a hope. I don't know if you can teach someone to actually help the poor. I think it's within you. I think you have to see something. You have to be struck. You have to had a Paul Damascus type situation where you have this enormous wake-up sort of thing. Otherwise, you continue in your
pray and fast. I mean, fasting is a most powerful weapon to help other people. You can't maybe do something, but if you pray and fast for them, you can see powerful changes. That is the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
Powerful, really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And you don't realise it until you do it, and then you start to see changes around you.
Yeah. But I think, my greatest moment, I think, was at a boarding school, lying in bed when I was about 12 and things weren't going well at home, and I was miserable. Terribly miserable, and I pulled the covers over my head and I was crying in bed and I was lost. And it just so happened the first 2 or 3 years of my life were spent with my auntie, and she always taught me that if ever I lost anything, then pray to St Anthony, because he'd find it. If you lost a penknife or if you lost a marble or something, St Anthony was a great person. So in this situation I was lost and I was there. And so I said, "Dear St Anthony, I'm lost, please help me, please find me." And never before or since was I enveloped with such a magnificent feeling. I was surrounded by warmth and love and compassion. So that's
beautiful.
That has an enormous effect on, and that makes you think, what about those kids, those street kids that haven't got someone?
Well, we're about to go to a break now. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back very shortly.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage, because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
If you choose to drive on drugs,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's, your family's, or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest, if you've just joined us, is Jeffrey Belville, and he's a retired pharmacist, and he's talking about making awareness and helping out with finances to help in the Philippines where the poverty is the most badly hit. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks,
Can you tell us a little bit about Missionaries of God's Love, because they're very involved with, they were quite an important help for you.
Well, it's quite refreshing to know that we have an order, an Australian order, that covers both men and women. And I don't think there's been any order established since the days of Mary MacKillop. So this in itself is something quite exciting, important. Father Ken Barker started MGLs back in the early 90s, and now it's grown to, I'm not quite sure of the number, but would be around about 70, right?
Yeah.
Priests and sisters, brothers. So they've established seminaries in Australia, in Melbourne and Canberra, and as a result, seminarians coming from different countries, basically. So from Sri Lanka, from Malaysia, from India, from Philippines, Fiji, so Asian countries, are attending the seminaries. Now, not all of them are going all the way. There is a fairly high attrition rate, sort of thing. But of 50 students that there may be, you'll find that 75% are of Asian background and 25% are Australian.
Right.
So they come together, and here at St Benedict's, this is where I first managed to meet up with them. So the concept is very, very good, because here at St Benedict's we have a standard Australian parish with a presence of a high school, a primary school. We have a youth movement, so there are many factors there that are contributory towards what MGL is all about. And a big part of that is their missionary activity, which initially started in Darwin and then spread to Manila. Last year, Indonesia was established, and I believe they're looking at India. So what we're getting is those that are coming through, getting the Australian experience, flavour. They're training mainly at Catholic Theological College, and then they're going back into their own domain. And I think that's a very, very good. And of course, contact is maintained all the time between the head house here and
so they do quite a lot of missionary work, the Missionaries of God's Love.
That's right. Yeah. So that's one of their main aims, ideals, and also, of course, very much to work with young people. So there is the opportunity of marrying young people with missionary activity, and this is what has happened, particularly in Manila, with one of the Missionaries of God's Love seminarians here, who over the last 6 or 7 years has taken young people from mainly western suburbs, Broadmeadows and etc. And they've actually worked on site and built houses and repaired roads and done things there.
So literally concrete things.
So yeah, concrete, practical things, you know. These are not highly religious people, but perhaps they see their faith in actually doing things and seeing the situation people...
Because you were mentioning off camera, there were a lot of the people from the western suburbs, they're actually coming in there and they're helping and they're building houses.
Yes, yes.
So it's a great...
Yes.
It's a great endorsement for them.
Yes.
And it's a great way for them to fulfil their lives in helping others and think about what they've got here in Australia and what they can give out there.
Yeah, I think it is within pretty much most of us to want to do something. It's hard to know whether or not you do it in prayer, in money, in physical effort, and it's probably all those or none of those or one of those sort of thing.
But I think if you pray deeply enough, you'll be inspired to know in your heart, because God speaks to us in our heart what we can do in this world, what we can do to help. Yeah,
there might be a few, people that find it hard to pray, the tough, burly sort of, person that he doesn't know, but he does know that if he does something, for a child, if he if you could pick that child up and give it some food, sort of thing, you know, that's going to be, that's something, isn't it? So he's giving in his way.
His heart.
Yeah,
that guy that does that, God must have inspired him.
But that might be his
heart.
prayer as well.
Exactly.
That's his way of praying.
But he's listening to his heart by doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
In that sense, he's listening to his heart because he's feeling like God may be saying, "Come on, help out." He does it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we can't judge anyone by their appearances or anything, because we don't know what's going on in someone's heart. We really don't.
No.
That's why that's such a beautiful thing that Jesus said, do not judge. Judge others and you'll be judged yourself. You know what it is. Yeah, so I think it's a beautiful thing not to judge others and to just love. Because in the end, we're not going to be asked, what did all these people do to us? What did they do? You're going to be asked, did you love? That's the only thing I asked you to do was love one another. Love your God, love one another.
Yeah, well, I guess, let's face it, we are privileged that we are here. That in itself
and be grateful.
Is
thankful.
a miracle.
Yeah.
We're privileged that we're in a land of plenty. We could well have been children in a land of poverty and repression and all past times. So, yeah, we're very, very fortunate. So I think we all owe something to help those in need.
And also for our own self to have our own peace of mind, because you could have everything but have nothing.
That's right.
At the same time, like people, if they don't have faith but they've got everything material, or they don't even have everything material but they don't have faith, and they're walking around in the world angry and miserable, but they've got a roof over their head, they've got food coming in, they've got lots of clothes to wear. They don't have to be super wealthy, but they've got the basics, but they're still not happy. Then nothing's going to change them except faith. Faith in God, who is love.
Yeah, and I think seeing how other people are living, sort of thing,
can be a wake-up call.
You bet.
Yeah, a big wake-up call. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the program. It's been great to hear what you're doing and all that you're involved with.
All right, thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Okay.
You've been watching Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and our guest was Jeffrey Belleville. I hope you enjoyed the program. See you again soon.
Imagine not seeing the world you live in. Macular disease is Australia's leading cause of blindness. Donate now to Macular Disease Foundation Australia. Call 1800 111 709 or visit mdfoundation.com.au.
You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking to Tommy Canning, and he's a contemporary sacred artist. Thanks for coming in, Tommy. And my first question is going to be, of course, what is a sacred artist?
A sacred artist is an artist who mainly concerns himself with subjects of the divine, of the relating to the divine, especially in my own case, my own context, in the Christian tradition of the Catholic Church, as an artist who paints images for churches, holy places, and today in exhibitions as well, or publications of that nature. So that would be the sort of definition in one sense.
So from that, I take it you're a Catholic, always been a Catholic?
Born and raised as a Catholic, and still a Catholic yet, in spite of myself.
Yes. And so have you always had a tendency towards art and illustration?
Yeah, well, from a very young age it was very evident that I had artistic ability from childhood, and as I grew up through the, into your teenage years, it was something that I was, very keenly developed and was encouraged by my older brothers and my mother. So it was something that I was always encouraged to do, and at school as well, teachers noticed the talent that I had and very much encouraged and supported me in that developing and nurturing that talent, and I did so well into my teenage years, and it really began to flourish and blossom then, probably at a very young age. Yeah.
And is that as an illustrator, as you worked?
Yeah, by the mid-teens I was already starting to develop a real talent as an illustrator. I was very much into comic books and illustration, animation, that kind of thing, and by the age of 19 I had 2 books already published, 2 fully illustrated books by a major publisher in Scotland. So at a young age, without any art training or any formal qualifications or any degrees in art or anything, the talent was being recognised just as what it was, just a raw talent, and they were publishers were willing to give me that chance to show what I could do in a published form. So
it was quite innate. You picked up the pen or the pencil, and
it was just a natural gift that I didn't think anything of it. It was just something I was able to do, and continued to do that, and always probably like all young artists, or even any artist, you're your own worst critic. You're always striving to do better, and that was something I can remember, the frustration at not being able to capture the realism or the reality of a subject well enough for my own liking. Other people would look at it and think, wow, but I was never happy.
No, that's right. It's a state of constant improvement, aspiring. So you mentioned 19. I seem to recall that there was some event, you visited the Vatican, I think it was.
Yeah, well, just after I'd completed work on the second book that I had published, I went on a holiday for a week to Rome with my mother and 2 older brothers, and that experience was to have a profound impact on me for the rest of my life, really. But it was the beginning of an awakening to the realities that probably I'd taken for granted as a Catholic, born and raised, and gone through Catholic education, and sort of went through the hoops, as it were, of all the, checking all the things on the list that you do as a Catholic growing up, going through all the sacraments and Catholic education, but never really embracing the faith as my own, really. It wasn't. I was probably like typical of many of my own generation, largely indifferent and lukewarm towards it. So it wasn't the centre of my life. But when that experience in Rome really began to put the first seeds of that awakening into me, and then that was the sort of beginning for me. I can always trace it back to that experience of the exposure to the great art and the basilicas and the architecture of Rome. Had a profound artistic impact on me, also spiritually as well. It sort of developed from there.
Was there any one particular painting or location which really was the apex?
I think it was just a cumulative thing. It was, all of the whole experience, going into one church after another, literally spending hours. I could have spent a whole day easily just studying and being, really impacted on many levels, artistically, culturally, historically, it was a real lesson about a lot of things. Sometimes that's what they call the great churches, their sermons in stone. They speak to us about truths and realities that, the divine realities beyond this temporal world. And it was like a realization or an epiphany for me that only God, who is real, who is the creator of all things, creator and author of all beauty, all truth and goodness, could inspire the artisans that created and engineered these great churches and magnificent art, which were centuries and centuries old.
Yes.
Sometimes painted in what would be known as the Dark Ages, in quotes, the Dark Ages.
That's right.
And yet, such great technical, artistic ability and theological understanding. Many of these artists weren't just gifted artists, they also had a great theological grasp of the faith beyond many people's, comprehension. So these people were profound thinkers as well. They had a great grasp of many complex theological or abstract concepts and could distill them and put them into a visual form, which formed a sort of catechetical tool for generations of faithful who probably at that time could neither read nor write. So these were the ways in which the church used for centuries to communicate the truths of its faith. So that really impacted me. The realization of this really hit home to me, that everything I thought I knew at that point really was, I had to re-examine and sort of literally go back to the drawing board and rethink what direction I wanted to go in as an artist, because this seemed to me to speak to a higher calling, a higher goal. And for me, it just seemed that the natural way to go is to strive for the highest good, rather than just a successful career as a commercial or artist or painter. I wanted to do more than that. And this seemed to fulfill that desire, that restlessness that was within me.
Yes, those paintings of which you speak are loaded with symbolism, and as you said, they communicate in the most detailed ways. And we need to communicate in the most detailed ways because time ticks, so we'll go to a break. We're back in a moment.
Every new line means 2 more hands. Join us, lions.org.au.
Every time we buy certified organic, we're making a choice to help our environment and build a healthier community. But it can be hard to know that what we're buying is truly organic. The Australian Certified Organic logo is only given to products after a very rigorous process. So when you see this logo, it means you can trust that there are no genetically modified foods, no animal cruelty, and no harsh synthetic pesticides used. A healthier community is always better for our future. So the next time you shop, look for this logo.
5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too.
You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids.
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Tommy Canning, a contemporary sacred artist. Tommy, before the break we were talking about how Sistine Chapel and those locations inspired you so much. In those paintings, of course, there's a lot of symbolism, like a lamp placed here and someone with their right hand instead of their left hand, all of those sorts of symbols. Do you find that comes into your paintings at all?
Yeah, very much so. It's something that you're at times conscious of because you want to try to reinforce the message or the point or the concept behind the painting. So certain things are done with a conscious idea of reinforcing that, underlining or everything drawing you to a central point.
Yes.
Other times it's done almost subconsciously. It's not a consciously decided action. It's almost in the intuitive sense that you just have of doing certain things unknowingly, but later you see this sort of, there's a flow of creativity that sometimes has its own way that you're absolutely unaware of or not in control of, which I think is oftentimes what the divine spark.
Yes.
Is J.R.R. Tolkien, the great writer of the Lord of the Rings novels, that he was a Catholic himself, a daily communicant. He called the artist or a sub-creator. That we are like, God is the ultimate, He is the creator, but we are all in our sort of sub-creators in our own realms that we dwell in, and that is something that we share in, not because we are like God, but God condescends and gives us that grace that we just sort of are the tools by which God is working through, and we don't always are aware of that. And it's a great saying that that a work of art is a collaboration between God and the artist, and the less the artist does, the better. And that's something that when I see any good that comes from anything I've done, or something that has a pleasing aesthetic appeal to it, I feel that's really the work that God has intended to place within there. I'm merely the blunt instrument, the blunt pencil in His hand.
That's right. So the conduit, if you like.
Yeah.
Yes. So with that richness of your interpretation of the divine and the sacred illustration, after your 19-year-old experience and your visit to the Vatican, there was a few other events inspired you.
Yeah, it was a sort of process, a gradual process of, a maturing process. You're growing from childhood or adolescence into your manhood. So you're maturing as a young adult, and so you're starting to grapple with bigger questions, more weightier subjects. And that was part of the process. So that experience then sort of set me on the path towards wanting to know more about this faith that I had been raised in since a child and been taken for granted, and to really, fully enjoy and explore the great heritage and treasure we have in our tradition of the Catholic Church. And so in so doing that, I read many books, encountered many materials that really fed and nurtured that hunger and thirst that I had to learn and to know more. And during that process, just by chance or coincidence, whatever, if you want to call it that, I picked up a leaflet on the message and devotion of Divine Mercy as revealed to Sister Faustina Kowalska, the Polish nun that had these mystical experiences in the 1930s with our Lord, and who revealed great revelations and insights into the God's greatest attribute, as the Church calls it, His mercy. And I read through that leaflet, and it really had a profound awakening and deepening of this great gift that God has given us, His divine mercy, and it really would inform and shape a lot of the artwork, the sacred art that I would do in the years to come. And it was particularly a statement that our Lord allegedly had given to Saint Faustina when He first appeared in an apparition as the image of divine mercy. He came in a white long tunic with an opening at the breast, and He opened the breast, and with His other hand was raised in the gesture of blessing and a benediction. And from His heart, which we know was pierced by the lance of the soldier on Good Friday when He died on the cross, blood and water issued forth.
Yes.
And it took the symbolic form in this image of rays of light, red rays and pale rays. And Jesus uttered these words to this Polish nun, who wasn't an artist. She was a religious nun in a congregation and occupied no place of importance. And yet he told her, paint an image according to the pattern you see with the signature, Jesus, I trust in you. And just that statement fascinated me. It really intrigued me and fascinated me to think that our Lord would condescend and would ask for this nun who had no artistic ability whatsoever to paint an image according to the pattern she saw. Eventually she, through her spiritual director, she got a painter, an artist, and the image was eventually painted, and subsequently there's been many versions of that image done. But for me, those words resonated very deeply, and it was like the Lord was saying to me as an artist, you have this gift, you have this talent which I have given you, paint an image according to the pattern you see. And they kind of haunted me. I wouldn't say haunted is the right word, but they continually followed me. Yes. And really gave me a sense of where I wanted to go with the art.
So have you actually rendered that particular Sister Faustina?
Yes, I have. I've actually painted my own version of that based on her descriptions and the many theological works that have been written about the image. It's full of symbolism. It's very rich in symbolism with a lot of meaning. So I've studied that a lot and tried to do an image which I hope will be a little contribution to that tradition of images of Christ.
Yes, well, after the break we'll discuss this a bit further, because I'd like to examine how you actually felt when you were painting that particular image. Was there a more intense connection? But we'll be out of time if we go further, so we'll be back in a moment.
We always liked to play chess together ever since we were little. He was always a better player than me. When I was diagnosed with Pompei's disease in 2002, I was told that my life expectancy was going to be poor, and my condition deteriorated rapidly before I was able to start treatment. My brother and I both suffered from the disease. But now I consider myself the fortunate one. My brother spent the last 2 years of his life in hospital. He didn't have access to this wonderful treatment that should be available to everybody. The world just keeps getting smaller as you progressively lose the ability to walk. So your world shrinks, and then gradually you realise, I haven't been to the supermarket in 6 months. I'm 59 now, and every year I can see my daughter grow up is a blessing. I believe my treatment's made this possible.
To learn more and help those living with Pompei's disease, register at australianpompey.com.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products, from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetark.org.
Australian women need to kiss more. Watch out for persistent and unusual symptoms, as they could be a sign of ovarian cancer. Know the important signs and symptoms. Kiss. Look out for symptoms like abdominal or back pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, or persistent bloating, or a change in toilet habits. If you're experiencing persistent and unusual symptoms for more than 14 days, see a GP. Make sure you kiss regularly.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020. Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Tommy Canning, and he's a contemporary sacred artist. And we're actually talking about the image given to Sister Faustina, and you have painted it yourself. How did it feel painting that? Was it the same as any other painting, or of your religious paintings, that is, or was it something special about painting that?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one to paint because there's the history. There's many well-known images in the history of that particular devotion. A more contemporary devotion within the Catholic Church, going back to the 1930s when the revelations were first given. So, as an artist, you're very conscious of what's gone before, and there's a few images which are very much beloved by many people and are very well known throughout the world. So, a challenge as an artist is to try and do something that doesn't destroy that image which has gone before, or it tries to build on what's gone before and do something that's maybe a little different, a little bit more, personal to my own particular style and approach, but still faithful to that. That isn't too different from what's gone previously. And so, yeah, for me it was very challenging painting to do, but very, very much satisfying, because I was very pleased with the outcome, and the reaction from many people who have seen it so far has been a confirmation that I've perhaps been able to do a good rendition of it and a contribution towards that particular image. So yeah, it was very enjoyable, but at the same time very challenging. It's like a fine balance between trying to get something that's a little bit original into the content, but be faithful to it. And it's very specific. Yes. Everything has particular meaning within the image. The iconography of it, it's in a sense almost like a sacred icon, which is a tradition of the Church of the East, the Orthodox churches. And so there's certain things which have to be, certain conventions you have to work within. So you can't really stray too far away from those confines. Explain
in the terms of non-artistic people what those conventions are, and also people who may not understand the Catholic implications of it.
Certainly, yeah. Well, it has to conform to a certain the particular elements which have to be included in the depiction, because it's it is conveying truth, or it's a symbol or a representation of a religious truth. So there has to be a very particular adherence to those rules, as it were. And the symbolism within the image itself is very rich. It's very deep, and many implications for Catholics or people who look upon the image. In itself, it doesn't. It's not the object of our worship. It's merely a representation. We don't worship the image. No. It's like a photograph of a loved one. It's not the person, but it's the person the photograph represents. So that's we try, and we're always conscious of that. So within the image itself, they have the red and pale rays, which represent the blood and water which came from the side of Christ when his side was pierced by the Roman soldier's lance on Good Friday. It also represents, those two rays represents the Eucharist, which is for the Catholics, that is something which is very dear to our religious worship. It's the source and summit of our faith, where we believe that Jesus is truly present in body, blood, soul and divinity in the sacred host. And every Mass we receive our Lord and Holy Communion. So the red rays represent the Eucharist, His body, blood, soul and divinity. The water represents baptism, and also the Holy Spirit, which we receive in the sacrament of confirmation and also in baptism. And also it's the risen Christ. Christ is in the image depicted as the resurrected Jesus on Easter Sunday. The Feast of Divine Mercy, which Jesus is also integral to the message given to St. Faustina. He called for a Feast of Divine Mercy, which was to be celebrated on the first Sunday after Easter, because on that day he appeared to the apostles in the upper room and he gave them the power to forgive sins. And he uttered the words, "Peace be with you." Almost as we see described in the image of Divine Mercy as he appeared to St. Faustina. So he wanted that connection to be made between that 8th day and his appearance to the apostles, and he's granting mercy, the power to forgive sins. And that's a very important part of the message. It's a reminder to us that God is a God of mercy. And we are to become that which we behold in the image, so that through our contemplation of this image, we then are slowly transformed into living images of divine mercy to those that we encounter around us. So that we then become images to others, passing on that mercy through our contemplation of the image. And Jesus said to Faustina, he gave many, many promises. But one thing that he did insist upon, because when Faustina was trying to paint have the original image painted, and some artist was conscripted to do this, she was never satisfied with the outcome, because to her, what she saw Jesus appear to her like, the beauty couldn't compare. No. And she suffered greatly over this, and she actually wept and said, "Lord, who will paint you as beautiful as you are?" And he said, "It is not in the beauty of the colour or the brush that lies the power of this mercy, but in my grace." So the image itself is like a conduit. It's a vessel, as he calls it, through which his grace can come through. But we are, according to our receptivity as individuals. And so it's a powerful, powerful image. It's like a triple exposure image. All the events of the Passion of Christ are present. The wounds in his hand, his pierced side, his wounded feet. But he's the risen Christ in glory, and he imparts mercy, not condemnation.
I can understand how daunting it must have been to paint that painting, Tommy.
Oh, very much.
We're out of time, but would you come back next week and we can talk more about this fascinating topic?
Certainly, I would love to.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with another interview with Tommy Canning.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
Behind your favourite team, there's another team. At all levels, in all codes, sports trainers are working to make sport safer. Sports trainers learn injury prevention techniques from doctors and other health professionals so they can provide the right first aid when the going gets tough. If your team could do with a sports trainer, maybe it's time you got a little closer to the action. Find out how you can become a sports trainer. Sports Medicine Australia, providing the team behind the team.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
The following program carries an MA classification and may contain adult themes and coarse language. MELfeed.video advises that it is suitable for viewers aged 15 plus.
This is called Ballad of the Storm. I walk alone. I travel far. I carry what I need. Sometimes I find myself in storms and look out for sanctuary. One night there was a gale across a mountain top. I saw a light and found a place somewhere to rest and stop.
I hear my windows rattle every stormy night, and on this night they rattled, and I knew he was outside. He came in shaking rain from his muddy, large brown coat. He was wearing ancient boots and looking hungry and so tired.
My coat was wet and I was soaked. I needed fire and food. She brought me in and gave me bread and took off my wet boots.
So I gave him bread and chocolate, whiskey and sweet tea. I rested him with blankets, fire and company.
I stayed some days and shared my tale, all the places I have been. She showed me her stones and herbs, her cures and special creams.
He showed me his tattoos that he got in Paris, France. I showed him my jars of herbs, my grinding stones and charts.
She said that no one came there much. It's too far away, too high. You could see the full horizon from her house, the circle of the sky.
He stayed and stayed some more, and then one day he left. The storm had passed, the sky was blue, and he had calls elsewhere.
It was nice for a few days, but the road had called me back. I packed my bag and said goodbye. I went walking on the track.
I think he has forgotten me, alone on a mountain top. Storms keep me company. He stayed but didn't stop.
I sometimes wonder how she is in that distant mountain cabin, but I could not find that place again. There is no road. It's hidden.
As she came riding through the park, no moon together, armor bright, no moon together through that cold and lonesome night.
She said, I'm tired of the war. I want the kind of work I had before, with a wedding dress or something white to wear upon my swollen appetite. La 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 la.
I watch you riding every day, and something in me just yearns to win such a cold and lonesome heroine.
And who are you? She sternly spoke to the one beneath the smoke.
But I'll fire, he replied, and I love your solitude. I love your pride. La 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 la.
make your body cold. I'm gonna give you mine to hold. And saying this, she climbed inside to be his only one, his only bride. And deep into his fiery heart, he took the dust of Joan of Arc, and high above the wedding dress, he hung the ashes of her wedding dress. La 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 la. Into his fiery heart, he took the dust of Joan of Arc, and then she finally understood. If he was fire, oh, she must be wood. I saw her wince, I saw her cry, I saw the glory in her eye. Myself, I long for love and light, but must have come so cruel and oh so bright. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la.
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes.
It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987.
Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos, it was used everywhere.
So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others.
Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
Dad, we need to have the talk.
What? You going to talk to me about the birds and the bees?
Dad, no.
Don't be shy about talking with your parents about the facts of life, that people over 55 are at an increased risk of drowning. They need to know their limitations, be aware of medical conditions, avoid alcohol, wear a life jacket and learn life-saving skills. Have the talk with your parents today.
It was a dark and stormy night in a bar over a strawberry margarita. Steve and Jacqueline had time to kill, so they decided to slaughter it. The result, 15 fabulous minutes. You be the judge.
Sisters of mercy, they have not departed or gone.
They were waiting for me when I thought I just couldn't go on.
And they brought me their comforts, and later they brought me their song. Well, I hope you're an end to them, you who've been traveling so long. You must leave everything that you cannot control. It begins with your family, but soon it comes round to your soul. Well, I've been where you're hanging, and I think I can see how you're pinned. If you're not feeling lonely, our loneliness tells you you sinned. They lay down beside me, I made my confession to them. They touched both my eyes and I touched the dew on their hem. If your life is like a leaf that the seasons tear off and condemn, they will bind you with love that is graceful and green as a stem. When I left, they were sleeping, I hope you run into them soon. Don't turn on the light, you can read their address by the moon. And it won't make me jealous if I hear that they've sweetened your night. We weren't lovers like that, and besides it would still be alright. We weren't lovers like that, and besides it would still be alright.
Surrender, give me the pills, I will drink them like wine, allow their brilliance to dry my tears, my marriage medication stitching me up tight like good Greek girls. Give me the pills, bring forth the love, I want to smile, be the perfect wife, the mothering mother, I want to bury the beast, vanish into wog myth, the one who lost the plot but found her way back luckily. Give me the pills, I want to dine and dance at weddings, be dazzled by the dress, push prams around the burbs, gather at mother's group mumblings, have dinner parties, cuddle on the couch, shop your money wherever. Give me the pills so I can become, give me the pills, what is expected, give me the pills and understood, give me the pills so my parents approve, give me the pills so my sisters love me, give me the pills so I can become, give me the pills, just give me the pills.
This is not a proposition, this here is an exhibition. I've been shifting sand since it was 5 years old, son. Son never looked at me better like a father. But I wanted her to come near me like a martyr, die in front of me so I could feel the pasta that she once cooked that is now gone. There were times where we would be children together, and then once I was an adult, she said to me, "No, you're too young for that, my friend. You need to be better." So I grew up, and I did exactly what I needed to do. I flew through hoops and did exactly who I needed to sue. I was exactly who I needed to boo, scared anybody I needed to, exactly when I needed to. And then she came to me and said, "You're dead to me, my friend. The martyr that you thought I was is now you instead." And before I could even manage a reply, I realized that my mind had changed. I realized that my mind had been rearranged in some ways that I'd never even named. And yet here I am and things haven't changed. I'm still the child, the adult, in the same name. And yes, I might play the name game and the blame game, but IQ just got up here and said exactly what he needed to say, so I felt that I should do the same. And when it ended, I realized time doesn't make a difference to us. It just makes us trust exactly what kind of lust comes towards us. And yes, we think that we are doing the right thing at the time, and then we realize the next day our minds were blind. I once slept with one and then maybe two, but I won't talk too much about that for you. You realize that some people want to be with you, but you need to be you and say no and be true. And words, I guess, is just what we do. Peace.
I wake surprised, sleep pulled from under me, and stumble into the morning. With eyes closed and half my mind still dreaming, I lie and listen to you breathe, remembering another dawn, when the sound of you was strange, your shapes new to me. And I lay and watched a woman sleep and wondered who she might be. The possibilities hung between us, numerous as the dust motes in the brittle autumn sun. I do not feel the tick-tick-tock of my maternal metabolic clock. I wind my own watch spring. I am a perpetual motion machine. I do not feel the need to breathe like a plant. I spread my seed through the air, through the lives of those I touch and care about and love and could not live without. And then in years to come, when my hair has turned from green to red to natural brown and then to grey, then friends might turn to me and say, "Hey, do you remember us, that month, that day?" And skin no longer old and hair no longer grey, we'll skip stones in the memory pool and watch the ripples fade.
If you choose to drive when overtired,
You could ruin lives.
someone else's, your family's, or your own,
Choose a power nap instead.
the right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Juggling work and caring for mum can be overwhelming. Having an understanding employer and access to support helps. I love my mum. I just wish I had some time to myself.
Man to man, it's time to stop.
Stop the tragic waste of life and the destruction of families, including your own.
Stop blaming drugs and alcohol and believing that walking away makes you weak.
Stop thinking you're a hero and wasting your life behind bars, wishing you could take that one moment back.
Stop the coward's punch.
Here is some brilliant news for adults who have difficulties with spelling, reading a newspaper or phone bill, or writing letters and emails. It can be easier to improve your reading and writing skills than to keep putting it off. Take the plunge. Call the Reading Writing Hotline, 1300 655 06.
1300 655 06.
It could change your life.
Fabulous minutes every week. Meet the famous, the fortunate and the fashionable as Steve and Jacqueline take you to all the events around town. Not to be missed, it's the most fabulous 15 minutes you'll ever see.
here we are at the Melbourne Overload Poetry Festival, acronymically known as MOPFest, because, well, the festival, it's like a mop. You can absorb a great amount of lyrical joy at this festival. MOPFest, just like Tropfest, only more topical. We have a star-studded lineup tonight and a lot of VIPs. Someone even more famous than Brendan Favola is the mayor of the city of Yarra. Her name is Jane Garrett, and I would like you to welcome her to the stage now. Please welcome Jane Garrett.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm more famous than Brendan Favola, but he has done his best to make his presence felt. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand, the Wurundjeri community, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. On behalf of Yarra Council in this gorgeous, gorgeous room, it is really terrific to be here to welcome you and to be part of the launch of the Overload Poetry Festival. Something about my background. I grew up quite near here in Parkville, and I grew up in a literary household. And then in Year 12 I took a course called Creative Writing. My teacher was John Fulcher, the great Australian poet. And I thought, look, you know, I've done all right on this literary stuff. I'm good on the text analysis. I can take this to the next level. And John Fulcher, who himself, of course, is an established poet, said, what we're going to do is all write a poem. And we're going to make it an anonymous poem, and you're going to put it to the class, and then we're going to critically analyse that poem. And no one will know who wrote the poem, but we're going to subject it to some peer thought and review. I thought, oh yeah, that's all right, I can do that. And I wrote this poem, and I wrote it, and I remember it had seared on my mind. It was called Trapped, and it was about trying to analyse the human condition, being stuck as a spiritual individual within the confines of the physical parameters with which we live. It was passionate, it was real. I thought it was really freaking good. And I got to the analysis, and every person, to a man or a woman, or in that case a teenage girl or a teenage boy, said they really hated that poem. They really, really hated that poem. So tonight, as someone who has tried and failed at this most important of human endeavours, I really want to thank the people who have stuck with it, who have stood up when that sort of critical analysis and gut-wrenching critique has taken place, because the role of poetry, as the role of art, as the role of cinema, as the role of all of these things in our life, which challenge us and make us understand what it is that makes up this society and what it is to be human, and I hope you do better than Trapped, but someone should, is critical. So for Yarra, this is the home of what we like to think is the home of the written and the spoken poetry. There is so much going on here that celebrates, that backs in the artists amongst us who stand up and who take that criticism, who get up the next day, who do it all again. And it is really, really difficult. So tonight we are opening a festival that celebrates that commitment, that celebrates that achievement, that celebrates that passion, and that celebrates that creativity.
When people ask me why I came to Melbourne, I can tell them for simple reasons. And this is the title of this poem. It's called For Love and Falafel. Precious things come back to moments like this. You've carried Davi and Trevor's thank you card around in your backpack for 3 months, like a talisman capable of warding off death. In between the mix of wine, tequila, ouzo, and garlic sauce breath, 3 cultures stand off in one moment of international flash pan potential violence. Corner of Glen Lyon and Sydney Road. Death hovers here. Not as underbelly TV glitz complete with bad mock bell wigs. No, this death is as balanced and true as the steely titanium tips where widows' tears and orphans are born. Death is at its back, warmly nestled against his left ass cheek. Left palm disappears and the car gets moved around the corner so no plates can be identified. His cologne has a sandalwood base, like the scent of the Indian shop close to the Malaysian restaurant that makes the best roti in Brunswick. The food has learned to live together. So can we. Take in the moonlight, mate. Might be your last. And before you can stop yourself, you laugh. Right in his face. The only music capable of coming across as true, as a prayer for Australia. And not some stay at home and never go out into the tram tire hours where patience is thinner than the Chinese rice paper lantern shades at the $2 shop. This road is electric. Not for anything do you want this paradise of Hellas, Cedars, tapas, hair extensions, bleaching cream, perfect espresso, tzatziki, and La Mana ranunculus to end. Maybe that card is working magic like Davi's deep-fried cassava chips at our wedding. Mate, where you from, mate? He asked. Brunswick. Bullshit, mate, bullshit. You're from America. Why you here, mate? And some crucible come good moment roars for a good mark, a miracle. My mom's voice and my dad's hands rest on my shoulder. I remember the sound of Magpie fans singing like drunken maniacs at the MCG 3 hours earlier. My nephew Isaac was brought to tears. He never cries. I can only do what makes the universe stay whole. Speak true. I'm in love with my wife in Aussie. We're having a baby in November. I am here because in Australia had courage years ago to get rid of guns so violence wouldn't choke beauty and the art of living out of its lungs. America is cowardly not to do the same. You don't pick where you're born. You pick how to live, where you choose to live. I like kebabs, man. I live for falafel. Is there any better place to get one than here? We have been speaking Serbian, Greek, English, and Espanol for a half an hour. I want my baby to learn all of these languages. You're pissed. He's pissed. He's pissed. And so am I. Nobody's dying tonight. And maybe we'll be mates by the next time we see each other, we meet, but that's up to you. I live here. Fuck, mate. You know what, bro? The only reason we didn't bash you is you speak true, bro. You speak true. You don't mouth off, bro. You don't mouth off. You speak true. It's the best thing you done, mate. Come here to Australia. For you, ain't it, missus? See you around, bro. All three leave and take death with them. I can taste Davi's deep-fried chips through metallic brake dust smoke. The 19 Coburg left hanging in the air like Art Deco Marcasite necklaces. I can smell my love's hair. I tip past the creaking front door as Sparrow fart. Ruth wakes. Inside, the baby flips. She knows Dad's home. Our cat just yawns. All I can breathe is hope, and all I can act is love. Live to speak true. I just wanted a kebab. Mate, I just wanted a kebab. Thank you.
For interesting and informative interviews, join us for NAT Chat Monday nights at 8. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Well, this is the kind of car I want to drive because I'm at Saab South Yarra. It's the opening launch, so let's have a look at the party and what's going on.
Stay right, straighten up and fly right, go down, Papa, don't you let go of the top, but don't you like choking, please go home now or something.
I'm an ambassador for
Ambassador? How'd you get that title? Let me guess, you got a free car out of that one.
Oh, no. We've always driven Saabs. We've driven Saabs for about the last 6 years.
So as an ambassador, what do you do? What's your responsibilities?
I actually get to go to great functions like this, go to the races and spread the good Saab word around.
And what's so good about a Saab to you? What does it mean to you?
Well, look at it. I mean, it's a classy looking car and it's really safe. It's done the moose test apparently.
The moose test? Now, who was the poor moose?
Oh, I don't know, but I didn't think we had mooses in Australia.
So
what's the plural of mooses? Mooses.
Mooses.
Yeah, it just didn't sound right.
So when you're driving your car, what does it feel like to you?
My car actually isn't a convertible because I'm a mother of two. I drive the 9.5 wagon. Yeah. So it just feels like a normal car. It doesn't drive like a wagon at all.
Yes, there's a lot of balloons floating around here.
Oh, I love them. I've got my son's 4th birthday on Sunday, so I thought when I leave, I'm taking them all with me.
Are you going to pack them into your car?
I think I'd probably only get about 2 in my car.
2 in there. So what do you drive when driving?
At the moment, I'm driving a Unos, but the one that I really want is that one behind us, this
convertible?
Yeah.
Everybody wants a convertible. Why the convertible?
I think it brings back memories of when I was little and my dad had an MG and driving along in the open air and thinking, this is really cool.
So I could just see you in the convertible, the hair flicking back.
To grow the hair a bit longer so I could blow in the wind.
Or maybe a scarf or something.
Yeah, do the Grace Kelly look.
I know, see these balloons, just kick them away. Yeah. So what brings you here tonight then, in general?
Well, God's honest truth.
Why not? Works for me.
Freya organised the event and she always puts on a fabulous term with wonderful people and fabulous food, so I thought I'd come along.
Look what I found, the lovely blonde bombshells. Oh, you are blonde. Now I want you guys to come over here and do the Sale of the Century feature.
Oh, okay.
You know how to do that, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, it's all in the arms? Very tall. Okay, let's go. You've been practicing, haven't you?
Yes, I must say. This is the lovely Saab. It comes in 3 colours, blue, red or green, and it goes really fast. And it's got really comfortable leather interior.
Keep going. We want to get the hand action going here because this is what it's about. Now your turn. We're going to see how good you are. Let's go. Oh, bending the knees. Nice technique there. Now, do you come in 3 colours as well? Blonde, brunette or...
Have been known to in the past, at the moment on a blonde phase.
So blonde's working for you?
Blonde's working for me, summer's coming.
So have you got lucky and got a car out of it?
Oh, not yet, working on it.
You're finding a few men with a car?
Working on that too.
That too, okay. What's happening tonight?
Well, we've invited a lot of our guests here to join us for the official opening of South Yarra Saab. We've got the heads of our company, the Sumitomo Group or Summit, who are also here to help with the opening, and we've got some celebrity heads. Did you find any?
Yeah, I've got all the Channel 10 and all that going on there.
Oh, you picked up
a few good names there.
Yeah, we have.
And I noticed some of them did drive Saabs and some of them didn't.
Well, the majority drove Saabs.
So it works on the majority rules.
Yeah, it does definitely. And the ones that didn't have Saabs, we obviously gave them Saabs to drive.
So now you're the manager of this stall?
Yes, I'm the sales manager here.
So what car do you drive then? You get the best one. You got the convertible, don't you?
Most of the time. Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to be driving most of the range at any time.
So you just swap and change?
Pretty much.
Oh, you just pick that one off the floor and go, that's it, I'm going? Or?
Actually, my boss is listening to this. No, I don't, right? I stick to one car.
You're lying. So what does it mean to you by driving a Saab? What's it stand for?
Oh, as Jim said to me before, it's just a classy car.
It's just a classy car. Now,
right, Jim,
you're all class, and you drive a Saab as well?
I drive a Saab, yes, I do. Yes.
Oh, no. Running off.
Yes, I drive a Saab.
What type of Saab?
A 9.3 convertible.
Now, what do you like about that?
What do I like about the Saab?
Yeah, how's she handle on the road?
Oh, sensational, mate. I used to have a Saab 900S, not as good, but this one just corners like it's on rails.
So how long have you had this one then?
Pretty woman. I've had this one for about 6 months.
6 months. Oh, you're a new one then?
Yeah, I am. So I get it always serviced at City Saab, and I'll be coming out of Frank here at South Yarra Saab.
Absolutely. Now, how often would you change your Saab then? You a seasonal kind of changer, or?
Oh, I reckon I'd change my Saab. I don't know, I'm happy with this one. I don't drive a lot of kilometres. I drive from home in Brighton into work at Channel 7, and then that's about it, and go home.
Now we're joined with the chairman of Saab Australia. Now, you've actually flown in from overseas to...
Yeah, from Japan today, yeah.
So what do you do in Japan then?
Well, the head office of General Motors Asia Pacific Premium Brands is in Tokyo, Japan. It's a bit of a centre for Asia Pacific.
So what's the link between General Motors and Saab Australia then?
Well, in February of the year 2000, General Motors bought 100% of the equity in Saab.
Oh, okay.
And so we are really a General Motors owned company, but we have our own spirit and our own way of doing business.
So how do you differentiate the two then? How do you keep Saab on its own and its style, obviously, without having the GM tag with it?
Well, it's nice to have a corporate owner like GM that provide the finances, but Saab has a spirit of its own. It's all about sporty and versatility, and that really stands out when you see our models, so it's quite easy.
You're in the blind business, I hear.
That's right. How do you know that?
Oh, well, Victory Blinds is advertised everywhere.
Do you
How
know
could
the
I
phone
not?
number?
Do I know the phone number?
Sing the jingle.
No, I can't. I'll get embarrassed.
Try.
Victory.
Yeah, go on, keep going.
That's about it. That's
no phone number?
No phone. That hasn't stuck.
Okay.
What's the phone number?
131399.
Oh, 131399. Yeah, of course.
Excellent.
Of course, it's all coming back to me. So what brings you here tonight?
A friend of Frank Petroni's.
Okay, so you're trying to sell blinds here for the front window. What would you go for in a front window?
I think it's something. I'm not quite sure. I've never thought of it. I've never thought of doing blinds in the front window.
The blind specialist has gone blind. Completely blank.
Exactly.
You draw the curtains on you. That's it. I'm drawing the curtains on you.
Fair enough.
It's over. It's finished. You're fired. I want to know the features. What do we got on features in these cars, for instance?
Okay.
What's so good about them?
The best feature about the Saab is the reliability and the warranty that the manufacturer is giving you to back his product.
So what's the warranty? What do you mean by warranty?
Warranty is a 3-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty.
3 year?
Correct.
Ooh, that's a big thing to do.
It is a big thing in the sense where from your transmission, whether it's an automatic or a manual transmission, your engine, your interior, your exterior, the manufacturer is backing it.
Okay.
The safety features from your 4 airbags.
4 airbags. Correct. So does that mean if a car hits you in the side one goes and not the front one?
Correct.
Or do you get a blood nose from the front one?
The front one will only activate when it's on a head-on collision.
Oh, okay. So there's been a bit of controversy about the airbag factor that, it does more damage than what it's supposed to do.
The only time it will do damage if you put yourself right up to the airbag. You've got to get yourself between a distance, the right driving position, and if the airbag does go off, you are protected.
And the moon is the only light we'll see.
Check the engine. Oh, here we go. Now this is what we want to look at. I tell you what, it looks completely foreign to me. Where is everything? I'm going to have to get an expert to tell me all about the motor. Popped open the bonnet.
Yes.
And I tell you what, must be the nicest looking engine I've ever seen. Did you design it that way?
Well, not me personally.
I mean, what's going on here? What happened to that little round thing with a, you know?
Well, the engine sits longitudinally, so it sits between across the front of the car. Some other engines sit north-south. Behind it is the turbocharger, and Saab's famous world leader for turbo.
They all turbo, or
yes, all turbo. So that's really one of Saab's points of excellence.
What's the advantage of what's the advantage? Yeah.
The advantage is torque. Mid-range torque and flexibility. So you don't need a huge displacement engine. You can have a smaller engine which has less inertia, and then supported by a turbocharger. It means that
faster.
Yeah,
speed. We need speed
and a lot more flexibility and responsiveness in gear.
The cases are out closed on this one. Now I'm joined with Lenore. Now you've got a nice look at this lovely polished badge there. Now you organised this little do.
Yeah, I work for Saab Australia. Actually,
that would probably be obvious. Oh, well, I would hope so.
I'm from Sweden anyway, so I used to work for head office.
So you worked in Sweden because Saab is a Swedish car?
Yes, it is. So I used to work for the Saab head office, and then I was sent to Australia to spend a couple of years here.
So you've transformed Saab in Australia then. You've taken it obviously to new grounds that it's never been before. How hard is that to do?
That's quite hard actually. It's quite hard. Quite a big decision to decide to go to the other side of the world.
Is the culture different as like the Saab driver in Australia different to the people that drive overseas, for instance? Is there a different status?
Yeah, we've got a lot more convertible drivers here, of course.
Oh, okay, yeah, the weather.
Climate, yeah.
She left me. I think this could only be the deluxe of driving, the convertible. Can someone open up the front window? First thing I'm noticing is the comfort, actually. Oh, isn't this just the life? You know something, I could get really used to this.
I'm really looking forward to the different projects my role as ambassador will involve, especially those for the customers of South Yarra Saab. In particular, some great ladies motoring days, which are planned workshop training sessions for lady Saab drivers, so that should be interesting.
Prefer an auto than a manual. Easier?
We do a lot of city driving.
Yeah, you just have to sit there.
Yeah,
so it's still got a bit of guts even though it's auto.
Sure has. Well, it's turbo.
Turbo. Oh, okay. Oh, you're that one. Chapel Street on a Saturday night, right? Right through.
Windows down.
Got to watch out there. Yes, I can imagine. It's not only about driving a stylish car and looking good, but it's about keeping up and looking fantastic. So stay watching because there's a bit more after the break where we talk about skin and how to look good. Because obviously if you're going to look good, you've got to drive a good car. Joined here by Dr. Paul Spano, a skin specialist, and he's going to tell us about how to keep care of your skin. Basically, what are some of the options?
Okay, Stephen. Basically, some things haven't changed in skincare, and that is because we live in Australia, we get exposed to a lot of ultraviolet radiation, that the first cornerstone of any skincare regime needs to be sun protection by using a sunscreen. Second thing...
That's a must. And during any day, winter days, normal days?
Yeah, the amount of radiation throughout the year doesn't really change a lot. The heat changes, obviously, from summer to winter, but the damaging ultraviolet rays, which can lead to skin cancers and blotchy skin and various other problems, really doesn't change a lot throughout. It's good to start good sunscreen care in your early 20s.
So what are the signs that I'm going to get from damaged skin? Obviously, wrinkles is one of them.
Wrinkles is one of them. Premature wrinkling, actually wrinkling before you're actually due to get it. The development of freckles and sunspots and blotchy colour in your skin. Thirdly, the development of broken capillaries around your nose, and you've got one or two little ones there, but we'll be able to remove those for you a bit later on. Broken capillaries, and just generally a generally unhealthy, tired-looking skin.
What about sunbeds then? Would that be as dangerous for anyone out there who's using sunbeds?
I better be careful exactly what I say here, but overuse of sunbeds certainly will damage the skin. If solariums are used wisely, Like I would personally think 3 times a week throughout the year is far too much. So solariums actually can be good for things like eczema and psoriasis, and some people will find a benefit of that, and some forms of acne actually reduce after the use of sun lamps. So I think if it's done intelligently, then sun lamps are okay.
So everything in moderation, basically.
Yes, generally, moderation is the key.
We're going to talk about Botox. Personally, I don't think I need it, but I do a lot of crazy things on this show, and this is one of them. I'm going to be Botox soon.
Absolutely.
What is Botox?
Botox is a protein that's made in a laboratory, which, if injected into certain muscles, can relax those muscles for somewhere between 3 and 6 months. And so, let's say that as you're talking, you normally frown down like this and form a lot of wrinkles. If we give you some Botox into this area while you're working away at your computer, you won't be frowning and won't be wrinkling your skin.
Anybody does this? Any age?
Most people who have Botox will be over the age of 25. Well, I have done a few patients younger who have some premature wrinkling, but most patients are between the ages of 25 and 50.
So this is basically what, a temporary relief?
The Botox is best probably thought of in 2 ways. One, if you have actually wrinkles on your face, Botox can smooth out that skin and then prevent the development of further wrinkles. But there is a new way that people are using Botox under the age of 30, that they're using Botox to relax the muscles so that they don't develop wrinkles, or they don't pleat the skin, basically. Yeah. Basically, every time you frown, you're creasing and pleating the skin. Now, obviously, day after day, eventually you get permanent wrinkles in the skin. If you use Botox prior to getting those permanent wrinkles, then there's no real reason why you ever need to develop those permanent wrinkles.
I got a bit sucked into this. Now I've got a bit left over in the tube, so he's going to do my forehead.
May as well. It's sitting there in the syringe, Stephen.
There's no means to my ends here. Ends to my means. Okay, yeah.
No, not too close.
Oh, that was going to be too hot.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's fine.
All right. Just frown down for us and relax. Frown up and relax. I might just put these...
just above the nose, is it?
Just in here.
So that's quite common, yeah?
Little injection now. Ready, set, go. Good.
Yeah, you can feel it going in. Is it hard to push, or...?
No, it's very easy, in fact. And we just push that a little bit to...
I kind of thought, yeah, I'd get rid of my crow's eyes, but now the forehead factor, it's kind of a bit overdoing it.
A little bit here, ready, set, go. Great. And that's fine.
Done.
Okay, we've got that bit of gauze there.
Yeah, a bit of blood was there? And is it dangerous?
Is it dangerous? No, not at all. The side effects of having a Botox injection are you can get a little bruise, but you can, like wherever you have a needle, you can get a little bruise. And that's about it. Nobody is allergic to Botox at all. People talk about or have read about getting a droopy eyelid after Botox. Yeah. The chances of that happening are around the 1 in 100,000 type of mark. It's very small. And it's more so in the hands of inexperienced injectors rather than... There is a slight technique dependence there.
Because what are you actually injecting a needle into the nerve, is it?
No. Just under the skin. The needle only goes in about 2 millimetres under the skin. It's a very fine needle. Good skin care starts at home. Regular exfoliation is a fairly important thing to do. And again, in your mid-20s, it's a good time to start, perhaps twice a week, 3 times a week in the shower.
So it's like a good face scrub.
Yeah.
Can you over-scrub? Like some of those stuff are pretty harsh.
It's hard to over-scrub. You'd have to be really using something with a lot of acids in it, etc., to over-scrub. But so regular mild exfoliation is good. The use of AHAs and BHAs, that's alpha hydroxy and beta hydroxy acids.
Yeah, I knew that.
Absolutely, are very skin clarifying, and the regular use of those either in moisturisers or scrubs is a very good thing. Then stepping up a level, you've heard of creams like Retin A that have been used in the past and used by many movie stars for lots of...
Are they all what they're cracked up to be, a lot of these creams, or not?
Retin A and creams like that, including Steva, Differin and Retrieve creams, are the most powerful. They all contain the same ingredient called tretinoin, and they are the most powerful skin refining products, and always will be, but they're available on doctor's prescription only.
One of the many things Paul does here is laser treatment as well as hair removal, but also scar removal.
Absolutely. Scars can be made less visible by changing their colour, either with lasers and sometimes creams. and using other things like silicone gel sheets, etc., to make scars as flat and unnoticeable as possible.
So I'm going to be guinea pig again after Botox. Now, I've got a nasty scar, and I've got what we call silicone strips, now, which is one of these. Now, what is the purpose of this? This is quite a new thing, isn't it, really?
It is, and I suppose you're going to ask me how it works, which is quite a difficult question
No,
to
actually,
answer.
but how does it work?
Okay. This is a piece of silicon, just inactive silicon, that if you overlay it on a scar, it causes various changes in electron flow and positive and negative charges and surface tensions of the skin, which then impact on the cells. And as the scar is maturing, if you have a layer of silicon over the top, the scar and the collagen tends to lay down in a flatter, more linear sort of way. So in other words, if you've got a lumpy scar that's forming, if you put silicon over the top of it in the form of a sheet or a gel, it'll heal in a... What we plan to do with you, and we've started the treatment, is use a laser that targets the colour red and helps those little capillaries in that scar shut down, and so that the scar becomes more neutral in the surrounding colour of the skin, so we'll notice it less.
And this can be used on, like, I know there's got a little mole there as well. Can get rid of those sort of things as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got people who have various little red spots and broken capillaries tend to be around the chest or on scars, can all be shut down with a little vascular laser.
So we're about to start the laser procedure, and you're just going to laser my scar off, basically.
Absolutely. Of course, you're wearing eye protection, which is very important with lasers, and so am I.
Can't see a thing.
What we'll do, I'll just start the laser pulses now, and you'll feel a tiny little sting. Feel that?
No.
That's excellent. And all I do is work my way up and down the scar.
Okay.
If areas are more red, then I'll pause over that area. And then I'm basically watching closely for changes in colour of the skin to work out whether I need to increase the dose or decrease the dose.
So basically, how many of these would I need in order for this scar for the redness to disappear?
You'll probably need, I would say, somewhere in the region of about 10 sessions, spread 2 to 4 weeks apart.
Okay, so and how much roughly does this cost?
Each session will cost about $150.
This is quite painless. It's kind of like a little rubber band just flicking, almost a pins and needles effect.
That's right. It shouldn't be a painful procedure. The characteristics of this laser, Stephen, are that it produces light of a wavelength of 532 nanometers, which is basically a greenish yellow looking light, and that colour light gets absorbed by the colour red. So what happens is that the laser energy that each pulse produces, being yellow-green, gets preferentially absorbed by the colour red, which is the capillaries in the scar, converting that laser energy to heat and then shutting down the blood vessels.
Well, there you have it in a nutshell, really. What else is there out there that can be new and exciting for us to use?
Probably the photofacial treatments, where they use a thing called an intense pulse light. It's very similar to a laser. Like, for all intent and purpose, it looks like a laser. It's a big machine, produces very bright light. But it produces light over a whole spectrum of wavelengths, whereas a laser only produces light of one particular wavelength.
That little point, basically.
Absolutely. So these intense pulse light treatments can be used for the entire face to reverse a lot of the ageing process. They will reduce your capillaries, reduce the amount of freckling or sunspots, and increase collagen production under the skin. These were made famous by a guy called Patrick Bitter in the United States, a cosmetic surgeon who developed these treatments, and they're now fairly widespread in this country as of about 6 months ago. I personally have used these machines at a clinic in Sydney, and the results are really quite good.
So there's always new things coming up then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, lasers well, if we talk about the chemistry, there's a new peeling type agent and ingredient for creams called amino fruit acids, which are very good, non sort of irritating to the skin. And I think in the future you'll see things like hormones, perhaps estrogen, the female hormone, and other hormones used topically on the skin to alter its characteristics.
Well, it's come to 6 months later down the line, and I've had about 6 treatments done on my scar. Roughly it takes about 10 before the scar sort of blends into the skin, but you can see just from the visuals now that the scar has almost disappeared anyway into my skin. It's become quite neutral in colour. That's only after 6 treatments. Also, my little spot was quite dark brown and red in colour, and of course using the BVU, which is blood vessel laser, as you can see the spot is almost faded into the skin. It actually just rubbed off. While showering, I would just use a light scrub and the top layer would come off, and over the 6 treatments that's eventually disappeared altogether. Now the greatest thing about doing this show is actually been the Botox. It's been one of my highlights, and I think I'm convinced, and I'll probably do it again, because when I smile I don't get any of these crow's feet anymore, and once I thought I didn't have them and I didn't take too much notice, and now I do notice the difference, and it actually makes you look at least 5 years younger. If anyone's interested in getting anything done like scar removal, spot removal or Botox, make sure that when you're choosing your doctor, choose it wisely and ask enough questions and see how qualified they are. I've used Dr. Paul Spano from the Beacon Cove Clinic. He's a specialist in his field and he does fly around Australia teaching other doctors how to do these procedures. So think of that when you're going out. If so, just give him a call. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this show. Stay tuned.
Okay, Sarah, I'm going to order some pathology tests to see how everything's going.
Half the Australian population had a pathology test last year. That's you or someone you love. 100 tests are performed every minute, delivering vital medical information. From the moment you are born, your healthcare depends on pathology tests. 70% of medical decisions rely on information from pathology tests. Pathology is the engine room of healthcare. One small sample can reveal millions of insights all about you. Pathologists are your doctor's doctor. 25,000 people work to provide doctors with the answers they need to treat you. Australian pathology is world class. We may never meet you, but we see each of you as part of our family. Every minute, 23 Australians find out more about their health.
Good news, Sarah. The results show that everything's okay.
Pathology provides peace of mind.
I rely on Australian pathology.
Sign up online to support Australian pathology.
Ryan was diagnosed with asthma around about 2. Ryan never let asthma get in the way. He just lived and breathed for soccer. He was the kind of person that lived his life in excited anticipation. He did everything that he wanted to regardless, and even to the point of travelling overseas, he was actually advised he probably shouldn't. Ryan was like a lot of 19-year-olds. He thought he was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Ryan had been playing soccer in the afternoon and had a great game and came home and went out to a party. During the evening he started to feel unwell and rang me and asked me to go and collect him. On the way home in the car he told me that he hadn't taken his Preventer for quite a few weeks. So I suggested that he really should go to the hospital on the way home and get checked out because I was concerned that he wasn't getting any better. Within a very short period of time, Ryan experienced a respiratory arrest, was put on life support, and 3.5 weeks later he died. Whilst Ryan had been in hospital a couple of times with his asthma, I don't recall anyone ever telling me that you could die from asthma. I never for a minute thought that I would lose him. Even if someone told you that your child might die from asthma, I think you'd be thinking that was for other people. But the reality is it happens to normal people like us.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash. Maybe even from heart disease. Maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed.video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed.video, we wish you a very good night.